What's going on, everybody out there? Welcome to What's Up, Danger, the Deathmatch Wrestling Podcast. We're gonna call it the Midwest. I kind of screwed up my own name as we were just talking about it. We were talking about the
right. It's all good.
Midwest Danger Deathmatch and Wrestling Podcast. My name is Max. I used to be a member of that catfish cult. I think you guys might remember it. Kind of a big deal. My co-host. We're gonna be joining you every couple of weeks. Formerly the Man Bun Ref, Sean Patrick O'Brien. Sean, thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
Thank you, Max. I appreciate it, man. And I really appreciate you inviting me along on this journey because, you know, I was telling you before, I'm a fan of your work and on the the catfish cult. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, that's what we're calling it, the catfish cult.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me on and starting this journey and seeing where it may lead because, you know, I love to chop it up and I love to talk, and so do you. And both of us, you know, follow quite a bit of wrestling. I work for way too many companies and keeps me busy. So, yeah, I feel like we're gonna have some great.
Yeah, I think we will as well. And I'm trying to get my foot in the door with some of these companies. My dream is to be a ring announcer someday. So hopefully someday I can parlay this into some ring announcing. That would be the ultimate goal of this for me. But before we get rolling on this, the main thing we're gonna do on this show is I feel like there's a lot of deathmatch and wrestling podcasts that focus on the East Coast and the West Coast, but the No Coast guys don't get a whole lot of love. So we're gonna focus on the Midwest shows. Obviously, KOD doesn't exist anymore, or not really, but Terminus Survival, Nick Gage Invitational, the big shows we're still going to talk about. Carnage Cup, we're still going to talk about that stuff. But our primary focus every other week is going to be on the shows in the Midwest. Sean happens to work a lot of these shows, so we're going to have that background on a lot of the stuff. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So Sean, before we get any further, why don't you plug your dates you got coming up?
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I have a ton of dates all the way until December, but I'm just going to stick to July for now because we'll have, more time to talk about the rest of the shit I got going on. But
for sure.
Let's see. Of course, we're going to get more into this tournament and this weekend. But on the 12th and the 13th of July, I will be in Summit, Illinois for the Resistance. They have, their men's and women's deathmatch tournaments. We're going to talk about that a lot more and get into a lot more detail into that here in just a minute. But that is this weekend. On the 19th, I have Optimum Pro Wrestling, which is a new company here in the area that's doing some really cool things. And they are actually getting ready. They're actually on that show. They're going to have Young, Dumb, and Broke from up on the East Coast. We were just talking about the East Coast. They're going to be down in my area on the 19th. On the 20th, Grindhouse has its Summer Sweat Fest. That's Too Tough Tony and Rudy Switchblade, their school. They do a big weekend show where they bring in all kinds of different people. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. And it went black on me. Hold on. There we go. And then the 26th, 27th, and the 28th is going to be an awesome, huge weekend. On the 26th, I got Paradigm Pro Wrestling, which is in my area at the arena. On the 27th, I have Black Label Pro. Ricky Steamboat is going to be at that show. It's called Dropkicks and Dragons. It's going to be streaming live on independentwrestling.tv. And then on July 28th, I have Glory Pro Wrestling. I can't remember the name of that show, but I know Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is also going to be at that one too. So I'm going to see one of the greatest wrestlers of all time all weekend, and I really cannot wait for that weekend. And then also too on that Black Label show, I gotta plug the rematch. Larry F&D. I'm trying not to cuss too much because I want to keep it semi-professional. Larry D versus Jonathan Gresham. It's gonna be fire. Independentwrestling.tv. And I will be all over that website on the 27th and 28th. So that is my July. Keep myself busy. So yeah, man.
That sounds awesome. One thing I wanted to touch on is Sean and I live in the same state, but we could not live further apart if you put a gun to our heads and made us. I think we're 6 hours apart, which there's not a whole lot of states that you can live 6 hours away from somebody. But we live. No kid. I live just outside of Chicago. You live just outside of Louisville. We live in separate time zones. in basically different planets. I live
Yeah.
in Chicago suburbs of Rush and Hustle, and you live, in
I live
Sweet
in
Tea and Grits.
Jeffersonville, which is Jeffersonville, literally right across the bridge from Louisville. So, which is famous for first 48, and well, there's some recent news that's kind
Live
of happening.
PD.
That's been
Live PD's
famous
there,
for
yeah.
Live
That's
PD. We got that in Jeffersonville. You're right. Yep, I forgot about Live PD. 60 Days In. Any show
yep.
on A&E right now has got Jeffersonville all over it. So yeah, we're famous for that crap. Yeah,
And we
anything that
have
has anything to do with law enforcement
and we
and crime.
have and we have the new show, the first responder show is actually taking part with our sheriff's department up here. So I'm also in a
Oh
pretty
wow.
crime-ridden
Okay.
area. And in
Right.
full
Yeah. Yeah.
disclosure,
Because you're not far from Gary, Indiana. So
correct. In full disclosure to everybody, I used to work for Lake County Sheriff's Department. I used to be a gun-toting, badge-wearing guy. I've left that life behind me. You can ask some of the workers. I will partake outside, and in some of the nefarious activities that take place at some of these wrestling shows. So I've left that life behind us. I didn't. I don't want. There's somebody from a past life that might like to throw some things out there later on. So I just want to get everything out there right now. I did used to be a cop. My real name is Todd, and aside from that, there's not any shadows in my background. But there's somebody out there that's laughing and gonna try and throw that back in our face at some point. So just get it all out there now.
You'll
But
be all right.
yeah, and homeboy, you can bring it whenever you want. I'll happy to send you my address.
Right.
So I'll put that out there. He's going to be one of the first people to download it. I'll send you my address. We can handle this like hillbillies outside anytime.
And you know what? And most importantly, we appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Yeah. Be sure to give us a like on iTunes. 5 stars, brother.
Please.
Also, if you know how to get a podcast on iTunes, shoot me a message because I'm going to need to know how to do that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, the main reason we're doing this show tonight is to discuss the Resistance Pro shows coming up. Like Sean said, he's going to be working both of those shows as the main ref. His backup's another friend of the show and a friend of deathmatch wrestling fans everywhere, John Gray.
Yes, sir.
So those two great refs. A little bit of background on Resistance. You could follow them on Facebook. It's facebook.com/live-die-resist. Just your typical Facebook, and you can buy tickets directly from them, which I'm sure they'd much prefer you do than use any of the other things, and that's at livedieresist.com. The events will be taking place at the the Spark Recreation Center in Summit, Illinois. It's literally right off the highway. Sean, would you say 5 minutes off of 57?
If that, yeah. It's real close to the highway.
It's the easiest place you'll ever park. It's in this massive park complex that like we got there for, what was the last GCW show? I can't even remember, but Mance and Gage.
The back-to-back. Yeah, Mance and Gage was the main, I know.
I got
they had the
it was when
back-to-back
Oren
shows or
and
whatever.
Oren and Eric Ryan just put on probably match of the year that night.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Anyways, we got there. I would say
last one's left. Last one's left.
Is
that one? Yep. That one. Yep.
We got there at probably 5. The cool thing, if you're not from Illinois, the Illinois gas stations sell cold beer in the gas station. I stopped and got a couple of 6-packs, drank in the parking lot, drank a beer with Manser, drank a beer with a couple other guys. Did not drink a beer with any wrestlers. Sorry. Did not drink a beer with Manser before he went and worked. That would be dangerous.
I mean, Mance comes out with beer, so right. I think it's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you get there early, you party in the parking lot. The Illinois cops are pretty cool about that. I mean, don't be disrespectful, but you're going to be fine. Right. So it's a great place to kind of parking lot party ahead of time. Friday show, gates. I think doors are at 6:30, and the show starts at 7:30, which it's a wrestling show, so we all know that means 9.
Hopefully by 8.
Yeah. There's what would you say, a half a dozen or a dozen bars within walking distance?
Yeah, at bars and restaurants. There was a really fire Mexican place that we went to that was right down the road. That was delicious. But
yeah. And then it's everybody kind of shit on it at 400 degrees because they said it looks like you're in a lit up high school gymnasium. It looks that way on TV a little bit. It's not in a high school, first of all. It sort of
No.
looks like a gym, but it's a super easy place to watch a show. The bathrooms are easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
With it being so well lit, it's very easy to watch the show no matter where you're standing. Like I bought a second row seat, and then they forgot to put my name on a seat. So Brett just goes, "Do you mind standing?" And I go, "I guess not. Can I have $15 back?" And he said, "Yeah." And then we went outside and smoked a cigarette. So I don't know what happened there. But, even standing the whole time, you can see everything with it being so well lit. So it's an awesome place. The staff is super friendly. It's just an awesome place to catch a show. It's not like some of the other places I've watched wrestling where you feel like you're intruding on their place,
Right. Yeah, I agree. And also too, because that's where Resistance does all their stuff too. And so let's see, I've been with Resistance since their second show, I think, either second or third show. And every time I go up there, like I said, the Mexican joint that I was talking about is actually open like late. So we usually stop in there about 1 or 2 o'clock and they're able to get, yeah. Are they up until 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then see, there you go. Yeah. So I believe you know what spot I'm talking about.
I know what spot you're talking about. Yes. I've partied out that way a few times. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the address, if you guys want to write it down, it's 5700 South Archer Road, Summit, Illinois, 60501. And the reason I'm giving you that is because, so that's where the venue is. I will tell you, there's not going to be any hotels close, but you can look in Allsip and some of the other towns around that area. We're talking less than an hour from my house. I know that area pretty well. There's some pretty cheap places to stay, especially when you get around like St. Xavier, the college is right there. So, if you're going to come up, you might as well catch both shows. I think the 2-day ticket is $60, and you're going to get to see some of the best men's. I mean, if you look at the men's tournament, we were talking off air who we think is going to win, and there's literally 5 guys that could win this.
Yeah, definitely.
The women's tournament, I don't know women's deathmatch wrestling as well as I should. I figured that out today as I was doing the notes. But the women's show is just as strong when you look at these girls. So I think it's going to be amazing. But
when you were talking about, preparing our notes and one of the first things that we're going to go into is trying to seed the tournament. I had more trouble seeding the women than I did seeding the men. And not just because I didn't know them, but because I was like, man, this girl could go in front of this girl, but then this girl could also go in front of this girl. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's stacked. And the men's were the same way. There's a couple of them where I'm like, they could go either way. You know what I mean? So
for sure. But let's go ahead and break down the men's tournament. That's going to be on Friday night, July 12th, which is 4 days from when we're recording. Hopefully this goes up Tuesday morning. I'm still playing some games with YouTube. They don't like the name, so it's going to probably be under my name, which if you found it, I don't need to tell you that. But yeah, it'll be hopefully it'll be up Tuesday morning. We'll share it on a bunch of things, and if you're hearing
we're going to share the hell out of it to make sure it gets out there. So
Sean, do you want to break down who's in the tournament?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Hold up, let me.
I know you're on your phone, so it's a little harder. I'm on a laptop, so it works a little easier for me. So.
Yeah, but I got it pulled up right here. I got the notes that we were preparing earlier. So, oh shoot, where'd they go? Hey, why don't you go ahead and go on into it? And
so in the tournament,
then I'll list off. Then we'll get into talking about it and breaking them down and each guy and all that. So
yeah,
because I'm trying, my phone's acting too slow.
Sure, I got you. No problem. We got G Raver, Aiden Blackheart, Oren Veit, Marcus Crane, Madman Pondo, Schlack, Masada, and John Wayne Murdoch. That is a list of hitters, if there is one. There's not a night off in there.
Nah, not at all. And so many potential matchups. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the craziest things. Is I was actually messaging Aiden a few minutes before we started recording. I'm like, hey, you know who you're working in the first round? No. So, wow. And who knows? The boys will never give the media a whole lot of info, but I tend to believe the boys might not even know who they're working yet. So that's awesome. That this is going to be a true. It's kind of when AWR kind of did their thing, and they didn't release a whole lot of the stipulations for the second and the third round with their tournament. They're like, if you want to see it, come. I think that might be what Resistance's plan is with this tournament. If you want to know who's wrestling who, come or buy it on pay-per-view.
Right. Right. Except the Resistance won't be under time constraints.
Right. Yeah. There will not be a concert in exactly 4 hours and 30 minutes.
Exactly. It's going to. It could go on. No, hopefully it don't go all night because I got a ref. So.
Man, I
But
gotta get
yeah,
up
man, it's
early
a
with a
stacked
4-year-old in the
tournament,
morning.
dude. Right. Right. Exactly.
So the first question I had for you, Sean, is how would you seed this tournament? What if you're making a 1 through 8 on this? And I know if I ever ask you a question that makes you feel like you're in a bad spot because you got to share a locker room with these guys,
Yeah.
don't ever hesitate to say, you know what, Max, I'm not doing that one. But you
Well,
want to go ahead and seed this tournament?
no, absolutely I will. And before I have to premise it by saying, because I know he's probably listening, but one of my best friends is in this tournament, and so it was kind of actually two of my really really close friends are in this tournament, and I actually seated them kind of low, and so just because this tournament is so stacked, and some of the guys are in for them, like it's hard to, it's hard to compete with their accolades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, we'll get into further stuff, and I'll do some I'll get some brownie points back. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
But the way I'm going to
So
seed
you want
it,
to start with number 8?
well, number 8 might be a little bit surprising to some, but my number 8 is actually Pondo, Madman Pondo.
Okay.
Pondo's it's kind of like, when you have a veteran football team or a veteran NBA team who gets into the tournament, surprisingly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Pondo's in the tournament. He could surprise a bunch of people. But with all the guys that's in front of him, I just don't see Pondo winning the tournament. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So and I actually see him kind of with the lowest chance. That could shock. I mean, we could be shocked. You never know who's going to win this tournament, dude. Like, Pondo's a Hall of Famer across, any company. I feel like, you know what I mean. Pondo is one of the greatest deathmatch workers of all time. He's been doing it for a really long time. He's one of the originals, really, if you want to look at it that way. You know what I mean? Him and Ian
In
Rotten
all
were.
senses, one of the interviews I did with him is he was literally had everything set up to do the first deathmatch tournament in the United States and just had a promoter pull away from him in '94.
Exactly. See, and that's what I mean. So, Pondo's been out here doing it for a long, long time. Pondo has won King of the Death matches. He's, his accolades are hard to compete with. However, I just feel like with him being, one of the oldest guys in the tournament, that's the only reason I put him at 8. You know what I mean? And I know Pondo hates when people talk about his age, but I mean, unfortunately, age is what's that saying? Age is I can't even think of what it is. I don't know. I killed too many brain cells, but
Right.
but you just don't get age back. You know what I mean? Eventually, you're gonna get old. So
Yeah, age will always bring you back. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll just kind of
there we go.
each go in. We'll each do our 8, then we'll each do our
Yeah,
7.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
So my number 8's
Yep.
also Pondo.
Okay.
For pretty much all the same things you said, I think he's. So I've got work reasons in my brain, and I've got a couple of shoot reasons too. And I'll hit the working reasons first. One, I don't know that I see him being able to hang with someone like a Schlack or a Masada anymore. But the other thing I think I see is I think they saw kind of what happened with Corp in that tournament in AWR, where I love you, Corp, and you were one of my first interviews I ever did in this, but Corp looked really old towards the end, and I don't think Resistance wants to have that happen. So I think for both reasons, I think Pondo is my number 8. I think Pondo could also surprise everybody and go out there and do an amazing show. I just don't know that Pondo's got much more than 20 or 30 minutes in him in true hybrid style deathmatch wrestling. I don't think he can hang with a Raver or a Vite.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
So who's your 7?
All right, so my number 7 is the one that might give me a little bit of heat, but I love you. I got to go with Aiden Blackheart. It's only because of the accolades. It's literally the only reason I picked that. And then also too, Oren. Well, I'll go ahead and say my 6 also. Oren Well, actually, no, I'm not even going to say that because that was one of them that was kind of flip flop. My 5 and 6 could go either way, so I'll just stick to 7 for now. But
Sure.
Aiden Blackheart, as far as accolades, he really hasn't done a whole lot yet. However, in the last, I'd say 2 to 3 years, he has improved so much, and it's so ridiculous. And I've literally seen the progress. Because when I first came to IWA, Aiden was there every week, having bangers with John Wayne Murdoch. And they were going back and forth, having death match and regular wrestling matches, and they were really, really good. And the improvement that he has shown since then alone, and that's almost 2 years ago. Actually, it might have been over 2 years ago. Just the improvement that he has shown since then, and also how much he has traveled and gotten around. Because when I first linked up with Aiden, Aiden's one of my best friends. Me and him are super close. We talk all the time. When I first, started riding and hanging out with Aiden and all that, he was hitting up, shitty ass shows in northern Indiana, close to Michigan. You know what I mean? And that was really all that he was. There's nothing wrong with
northern Indiana, close to Michigan.
Have you seen some of the companies up there?
Unfortunately, that's kind of who I go to.
And I'm not talking deathmatch companies. He wasn't really doing deathmatch companies,
there's nothing like watching wrestling on a church on a Sunday afternoon.
That's all he was really hitting up. And then in the last couple of years, Aiden is now a regular roster member of Crimson, what's it called, Crimson Crown Wrestling. Yeah, formerly Blood Brothers.
Yep.
He's a regular roster member out there. He's going to Mexico. He just got back from Mexico this past weekend. He was down there for NGX, and that was his either second or third time.
That was his third trip to Mexico. Yep.
Third trip, exactly. Yeah. So like I said, in the last couple of years, Aiden has done a lot. Aiden is actually somebody that I could see, possibly taking this tournament also, just because of the stuff that he's done here recently. And he also, he's not bad in the ring. He shows out. He does some really cool stuff. One of my favorite spots in a deathmatch show or, whatever is when Aiden did the senton off of the apron onto the stairs, and he had tubes on I believe it was Dale Patrick's back, or maybe down his shirt or something, and he did a senton. Yeah, off the apron onto the. Oh man, it was so wild. But yeah, man, and literally the only it's hard to compete with a John Wayne Murdoch or a Schlack or a Marcus Crane or Masada. It's really hard to put Aiden in front of any of those guys as far as accolades go. So that's literally the only reason he's on my 7. But like I said, he could surprise us too. So who was your 7?
Aiden. I love Aiden. He's one of the guys that anytime I message will message me back right away. He's one of the few guys that really helped out with the old show, and seems like he's willing to help with this one as well. But for all the reasons you said, can you put him ahead of these guys? He's just still building that name. That being said, he's also been in a couple of the better death matches that I've seen this year. that match that he and Mercer had for Crimson Crown was awesome. Yep.
Dude, Aiden and Schlack from AWR, amazing, so good. Oh my gosh!
And one thing about Aiden too is he's willing to take some pretty sick bumps out there. The guy does not seem scared in the least to get hurt bad. And in a deathmatch tournament, that's something that can really help you go a couple of rounds.
Oh yeah. So some of the biggest spots that went viral in a deathmatch show last year had Aiden in it. One of them was when Schlack did the flaming elbow off the balcony and through the table. Aiden was on the table for that, or when or for instance, I don't know if very many people have seen this because I don't know how. I'm pretty sure AWR is out. Have they released their show yet?
No.
Damn. Oh man. Well, Schlack
they released the Hooligans
Aiden.
and Rejects match last weekend.
Yeah, that was free on YouTube, wasn't it? Yeah. But now Schlack versus Aiden in that match. Aiden wanted to do some crazy ass shit, and he actually. Well, okay, to go behind the curtain just a little bit, Aiden was down to have like 5 of the plastic bags put over his head before he finally ended up being, knocked out. Because it was a last man standing match, but he wanted like 5, 6, 7 of those bags over his head so that Schlack could legit like kill him.
Right.
Not like actually really kill him,
Right.
but you know. And I was like, Aiden, dude, are you sure you're gonna be able to like, work it? He's like, I'll be fine.
Right.
I don't think
Yeah.
they ended up actually doing that many, but yeah, Aiden was down. So Aiden's crazy as fuck. Excuse my French. I'm trying not to cuss.
No, it's all good. This is a show for grown-ups.
No, I don't like cussing too much just because, like my position is somewhat professional and, and I just don't
Yeah.
like to be all like that. But I mean, I'm still human. So,
Right. Yep. So who
but,
do you have at 6?
all right. So my number 6 that I wrote down off gut feeling was Orin Veidt. But however, I ended up drawing an arrow and 2 arrows on each side because my 6 and my 5 could go either way. And we'll go with 5 whenever we get to it. But number 6, Orin Veidt. I think that you always stick with your gut. I think that I would actually stick with him there. My 5 would stay the same because Aiden. If I put Aiden at 7 for the accolades, then I have to go with Orin at 6. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because Orin is killing it right now. From the first time I saw him, he was one of my favorite workers. Like he does really cool stuff. And then he started doing death matches at IWA. He wasn't doing death matches when he first came to IWA, but he started doing death matches at IWA, and I was like, this guy's crazy, like wild.
And then he
crazy.
won Prince.
He's down. Well, nah, he didn't win Prince. That was the year that Maria won.
Okay.
But no,
he
won.
Year in Prince he won. Or did he win? So you want to be a death
that
match
was last year.
star,
Yeah,
or?
he won. So you want to be a death match star? I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think that's what he won. Was so you want to be a death match star? Yeah. Or he might not even won it. I think he just did it. Like he just showed up in it so much that like people were just talking about him. You know what I mean? I don't think that he won. No, he didn't win because the finals of So You Want to Be a Death Match was Cole Radrick and Storm, Justin
Right.
Storm.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of the Deathmatch Challenge up in Milwaukee.
Oh, ICW.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did win that. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But yeah, Orin, he doesn't have very many accolades under his belt. However, everywhere he goes, he shows out.
Although he did win an Insane 8.
Oh yeah, he did win that. That's right. Yeah. But I mean, that's not really one of the major deathmatch companies. It's starting to become.
Right. It's not a crown jewel event. It's not a King of the Death. It's not.
It's not like a King. It's not a tournament of death. It's not a tournament of survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But however, you referenced it earlier. Orin has been in one of my favorite death matches of all year. That him and Eric Ryan was so great, and I wish I could have been there for it. But then, I heard everybody talk about it. I planned on watching it back anyway because here recently I've been trying to catch every GCW show that I can, just because they do some really cool stuff. But I ended up being able to catch that match also too because I wanted to see Manson Gage. But I ended up being able to catch that match, and it was so good. I screamed on some of the spots, like legit, like scream, like oh my god. Like for instance, whenever Eric Ryan did the suicide through the ropes, and
that was nuts.
That was craziest shit
they
in the world.
landed 10 feet in front of me from that spot. I got hit with glass. That was insane. Like I'm like, I remember watching when he set the stuff on and then got back in the ring. I'm like, yeah, he's not coming back. He's gonna come back out, but Orin's gonna stop. Stop. And there's gonna be something. It's going back at him. And the thing I always watch too, and what I loved about that match is a lot of times, and I've had this explained, and you could probably expand on it further if you wish, is when the etiquette with light tubes is you don't swing through the guy, you stop when you hit him.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers were swinging through each other like they were hitting home runs.
Oh, dude, no, yeah, they were going balls to the wall.
They went 800 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The entire match. And you could
from bell to bell, literally.
You could hear them both breathing pretty heavy, like 5 minutes in. And I was talking to this guy that Leon from my old show that he came with, and he and I were talking, and I'm like, man, they both sound like they're getting blown up a little bit. I hope this isn't going to be like a 5-minute match. And it was like they just kicked it down another gear and they went faster from there. And like 15 times there was finishes in that match.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the best part was
it was like an indie-rific deathmatch match. You know what I mean?
The best
because you got the indie-rifics with like 2 or 3 comebacks and 2 or 3 double downs and a bunch of falsies and all that. It was basically that, but in deathmatch, in the deathmatch realm. Like it was wild. Yeah.
And I think my favorite part of that though was afterwards I went over and said thank you to Eric. I'm a huge Eric Ryan mark. And he had been on the old show, and I just said thanks and took a picture with him, and I'm like, you don't even like have he has got a couple of marks on him, and he's like, no, that was like, no, he goes, I'm fine. It's like, how did you just do that and you're not like just crippled like you were in a car? I just watched you have a car accident for the last half hour. Dude. I literally watched 3 chairs get destroyed on your body. Dude, he's like, no, Lauren took care of me. We're good.
And don't forget the light tube being swung right in his face.
Right. Several dozen times.
But well, yeah. I mean, but I'm talking about the one, the spot that I was talking about, earlier or whatever, when he did the suicide through the, dude, I don't, like, there's some things that I see and, being, I guess, somewhat in the business, and I'm just like, how the hell do you work that, Like, I just don't, man. There's some things that I'm like, dude, that.
Well, anytime anybody says wrestling's fake, you show them those shots, and you're like, yeah, how do you fix that?
Right? How's that fake? What I mean? Exactly. Yeah.
When did that one become fake? So
yeah. But anyway, who's your number 6 though? Yeah, back on track.
My number 6 is actually going to be Marcus Crane. I know that might not be a real popular number 6, but I just think Marcus. I know it's his backyard. I love Marcus Crane. I think he's a great guy, but I think when you take the rest of the guys that are ahead of him and the trajectories they've been on lately, and that being said, Marcus just got back from Mexico as well, and is been tearing it down. I kind of, if we're talking the hybrid style guys, I think all of those guys on any given night, I think the rest of the guys could probably beat him. And when you're dealing with 6 of the best deathmatch workers out there, you're making some hard choices. So I went ahead and put Marcus Crane there. Sorry, Marcus. Okay. You're going to be pissed about that one. Who you got at 5?
At 5, my 5 could be a little bit like your 6. And like I said before, I could switch these 5 and 6, could go back and forth. But however, I'd probably keep it the way it is, just because of all that I said before. My number 5 is actually Masada. And the reason I say that is because the reason why Masada is in front of all the guys that he is, except for Pondo, obviously, is because of his accolades. That's why I've put Pondo up. I mean, that's why I put Masada up there. However, the last few matches I've seen from Masada, his body wasn't, all the way, good. Of course, at that time, he was working a lot more than he is now. And that's another thing too. He really doesn't work a whole lot right now, so I don't know, how rusty he might be or not. I know that whenever he was in town for the last Resistance show with Sabu and all that, he did a great job. But I mean, that was, what was that, 3-on-3, or it was a 3-way or a 4-way or something. 4-way. Yeah, and it's kind of hard to, it's kind of hard to judge how somebody's going to do in a singles match off of that.
You could take some breaks.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it's kind of like tag team wrestling. You know what I mean? So that's literally the only reason I put him there. A couple of years ago, whenever he was coming to IWA,
old, so
exactly, he is growing. He is getting a little bit up there in age too. Which that's the only reason why Pondo's at 8. So
keep in mind he won King of the Death 2009, so that was 10 years ago. So he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah. Yep. So, and like I said, the last couple times it seemed like his body was, slowing down on him a little bit. And I know specifically the match that I can think of, he had a match against him and Michael Elgin at IWA. And this was 2017, and his knee locked up on him literally like first 5 minutes of the match, and they were going to have a great match because I was there when they were calling it, and and I was kind of whatever, but but they were going to have a really good match, and yeah, his knee locked up on him, and they had to work around it, and it kind of was what it was. Could have been a lot greater, but I know Masada can go. I've watched old Masada. I love Masada. I know some of the fans at IWA Mid-South right now aren't really high on Masada because the last few times, like I said, they really didn't get to see, Masada of old. I'm kind of a wrestling nerd, so I've done my research, and I've watched old CZW and old IWA, so I love Masada's work. But the only reason why I put him at 5 is just because he's starting to slow down a little bit, I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's actually the same spot I have him in as well. Okay. And for all those things, I don't know that I see Masada kind of invented hybrid deathmatch wrestling. I'm sure there's other guys out there that'll be like, no, he didn't. This guy did or whatever. But in my opinion, the death matches that we see again with guys like with Eric Ryan and Orin Veidt don't happen if we don't have Masada doing what he did. Now 1,000%. I know not every one of his matches was necessarily like that, but keep in mind Masada had worked dark matches in WWE. Masada is a legit solid worker.
He's trained by Shawn freaking Michaels, my favorite wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, we're not talking about, and we're talking Shawn Michaels, and I think they kind of give Masada credit as the last guy that Shawn actually trained while he was at the school.
I believe so.
I think Masada is credited to be that last guy. And the other thing about Masada is Masada's huge.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I'm 6 foot tall and 200 pounds, 210 pounds. There's not a lot of dudes walking. I mean, there's a lot of guys bigger than me, obviously. But generally at an indie show, I'm bigger than most of the workers. Where the first time I met Masada, he's a couple inches taller than me and a whole lot wider.
And intimidating as hell, too.
Yeah, he's not one of those guys. And as I said, as a former law enforcement officer, I don't intimidate by a lot of people. Like, they don't, just whatever, what are you going to do, beat me up? You definitely feel that with Masada. Yeah. He's one of those dudes, you're like, yeah, this dude could throw a fridge if he gets pissed. He's not going to put his hand through a wall. He's going to rip your stove out of the ground.
Not to mention that his shoot job is that he makes knives and guns and weapons and swords.
Dude, I would love to see him on Forged Fire so bad. The show on the History Channel.
Yes,
absolutely. How awesome would that be?
Gosh,
he pulls the skewers out.
Dude.
That would be great. History Channel. Yeah. You do that.
Yeah, y'all need to get on that for sure. Yeah, I don't know why they haven't, but yeah, man, Masada's a character.
Because he's a kind of a cult icon that 40,000 people in the world know who he is.
Sure.
All right, so who do you got sitting in 4th?
All right, at the number 4 seed, I'm going to have to put Marcus Crane in that spot. I've worked with Marcus a lot here the last year, and actually when I first met Marcus Crane, he was working on it was either a bad back or a bad hip or something. He's walking with a really bad limp, but he was still working and he was still doing some crazy stuff.
Had that brother walk going, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, bad. And it was like a really weird limp the way that he walked. Obviously, he's gotten that fixed because he doesn't walk that way anymore. And ever since, he's been doing some of the craziest shit that I see out here. And that's why I put him at the number 4 spot, is because
I believe he's cleaned up too, right? He's not sex, drugs, and rock and roll quite as hard anymore.
Not as hard, but I mean, it's still pro wrestling. So.
Right, yeah. It's still a world where Sexy Eddie isn't the wildest guy in the world,
So, but Marcus is always willing to do something stupid. And I kind of have to disagree with you a little bit as far as hybrid wrestling, because I feel like Marcus can do some really cool stuff. He's not going to go out there and chain like Masada or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But I've seen him do some pretty, crazy cool things as far as like just outside of the deathmatch realm. So
And I will admit that my Marcus Crane outside of Deathmatch, for a guy that I live in the Chicago market, I should see more. I should see his freelance and Black Label stuff.
Yeah.
I've definitely been to Black Label shows he's been on. I don't remember him, which I know that might make me sound like a prick, but like I think
The
the
last
last
time he was there, he tagged with somebody.
yeah, and
But I
I was
don't
really
remember who.
excited to meet Hack at that show because that was the show that
Okay,
Hack was at.
I got you.
The Sandman. I don't know why I just called him Hack. But,
Oh,
well, I think because they introduced him as Hack originally, and then the Sandman. I can't remember. I was
okay, I got
also insanely drunk. Um, but yeah,
So
I
yeah,
was
but
stoked to meet the Sandman. So
but that's my number 4. Marcus is because he's willing to do something stupid, willing to do something crazy. He's working for all the major deathmatch companies, and also some of the bigger, like you mentioned, Black Label Pro, some of the bigger independent companies also out here. Marcus's name is all over the place, and and
he's
I'm
got a
kind of
no
going
ring
against what
title
I
too,
said.
right? He's got
He
the
has the unsanctioned pro 24/7 or the hardcore title,
okay,
the
but doesn't he
unsanctioned
have
pro
what?
hardcore
He's
title.
got the one of the bars in Orlando's no ring title.
Oh, does it? Okay, I didn't know they had a title. That's dope.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I know that he's participated in a lot of those. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, Marcus is out here killing it, man. His name is all over the place. That's really the biggest reason I put him at number 4. Um, so yeah, who's your number 4?
I got Schlack there.
Okay.
Main reason I put in Schlack there is again, I just Schlack's amazing. He's a beast. The dude can, there's not a lot of guys walking around throwing fucking file cabinets around. Um, that's a pretty big dude. His wrestling's awesome. I just don't know that with the other, when we're looking at these last 4, I don't know that I put him better than any of these other guys. And if I, fantasy book, I think I see all 3 of the other guys beating him. The other thing is he doesn't have, when we start looking at credentials, he doesn't have that signature win yet. Now you could say, does this give him that signature win? I don't know that it does. I don't know that you give somebody a signature win on a non-crown jewel. No offense to Resistance, but this is obviously your first year, so this isn't a crown jewel
Yeah.
show yet.
Right.
I think you need that crown jewel win potentially, or to have some sort of like local tie rocket kind of shoved up you to be, to be in that later rounds. Now, what I would probably see is Schlack maybe making it to the semifinals or even the finals, but I still put him at the 4.
Okay.
Who you got it in third?
At the number 3 spot, I'm gonna have to go with Schlack. Schlack is one of my favorite guys out here doing it, just because of his look, and he's always willing to do something stupid. He's one of those hybrids in the sense of a strong style deathmatch wrestler. You know what I
Yep.
mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of as far as hybrid, there's a lot of like the lucha deathmatch, or even like like we were talking about with Masada, how he used a lot of chain wrestling and a lot of stuff like that. And as far as hybrid goes, Schlack is one of those that's going to go out there and hit you in the mouth and then hit you with a tube. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he wants you to hit him back. And I know,
Yeah.
and that's a shoot. I know that for a fact. He wants you to hit him back. He loves to be hit. That's why he got off so much with him and Necro in the ring. Him and Necro went out there, beat the shit out of each other, went to the back and was sitting right next to each other, kicking it.
Right.
So Schlack is one of those guys that he's one of my favorite wrestlers for that reason, because I'm a huge strong style mark. I love strong style.
I've heard him described a lot as a modern day Bruiser Brody.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
A guy that'll just we're gonna go out there and beat the dog piss out of each other for 15 minutes, and I'm gonna hit you hard, and you better fucking hit me hard back, or I'm not gonna respect you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's straight up. Yeah, I could totally agree with that. However, but the reason why he's at 3, I actually did a little bit of last minute editing. I had a different 3. I actually put that 3 as my number 1. because I had been preaching the entire time about accolades, and when I was making my list, and I was like, there's no way that I could put my three at the three that I had at three, and he's now my number one. I was thinking more originally whenever I started doing my list off of who my favorites are, like who I actually like, instead of actually being kind of, I guess, a critic. But yeah, Schlack is at my number three spot. And really the only reason why he's as low as he is, because Shellac, I think, could take the tournament. And I mean, we'll get into that here in a minute as far as who we think is going to win, and all that stuff. But Shellac, the only thing with Shellac, though, is that he hasn't won one of the major tournaments. I think he won the Primos tournament, didn't he?
I think so. I can double check that real fast.
In Denver, and the Primos tournament in Denver. I'm pretty sure he won that one, and that's really the only tournament win that I know that he's gotten. So,
I mean, he went to the finals of TOS this year.
Yeah, he's been in quite a well. Actually, he really hasn't even been in that many finals.
No, that's the only finals he's been in, according to Cage Match.
Yeah, I looked on Cage Match for a brief second, and I just kind of flipped through.
I don't know. The only finals he's been at is that, and then everything else, he's a semifinals participant, or out in the first round.
Yeah. Was he in the finals at King, or was that semifinals where he fucked up his leg?
Eliminated before the semifinals, so it was the quarters. It was the first round match.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. Yeah, I know it was on night
according
two.
To Cage Match.
I was there for night two. But anyway, but yeah, Schlack is at my number three spot. Who you got sitting at the three?
That's where I have Oren. Now,
okay.
That's being said with a little bit of knowledge of the booking of Oren in Resistance recently. They pretty much put a rocket up the kid's ass, which he totally deserves.
For sure.
He's the closest. I don't know. He's probably a little further away than the Southern Indiana, Kentucky guys, but close. In as far as driving distance, and most people in Illinois are going to probably look at him as a more local than they're going to look at especially the Indiana guys, because Indiana and Illinois are a pretty good rivalry there. They're not going to acknowledge an Indiana wrestler, but an Illinois wrestler, or the Kentucky guys, they're going to think of us very far away, and Southern wrestling. You got to remember, a lot of these wrestling fans in Illinois and in Indiana, Northern Indiana, where I live, are old school AWA fans. The older guys grew up watching Vern. So when they hear, now, obviously Oren's in character from Salem, but we all know he's a Minnesota guy. And he definitely does not wrestle like he's an East Coast guy. He wrestles way more like a Minnesota guy, in my opinion, at least. I think that there's some of that draw. I mean, Oren's not real shy about it. I mean, he only tweets from the Boone account. He pretty much says who he is in real life. But I think the AWA kind of the draw, the fact that he beat Masada, Pondo, and Sabu the last time out. I mean, they put him over 3 stars there. I don't know how you can't put him over 3 of the biggest names, 2 of which are in this tournament, and then not have him at least make it to the quarter or to the semis. So that's why I have him in third.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said, and I could see why you put him there.
He disagrees with me, by the way. When we were talking on Facebook, he completely disagrees with me.
Who, Oren?
Yeah. He's like, I think you're wrong, man. I don't know.
That's funny. Well, that's what I was going to say. Speaking of, was Oren's at the end of that match, was his reaction not the greatest? He was so shocked that he won that match.
Yes.
And of course, it's pro wrestling, but dude, I was like, that's awesome, man. Cause he legit looked surprised that he's like, I can't believe I just fucking won that.
I think that's his first GCW win though, too.
No. I'm talking about the Resistance.
the Resistance. Yeah. I'm sorry.
When he went over on that, when he went over in the 4-way against those 3 legends, like you had said, You know, like the look on his face, like, because I remember he rolled out of the ring and then I rolled out and I raised up his hand. And when I raised his hand, I looked over and saw his face and it was just like, what? I
I
won?
mean,
You know, like,
he had to have just beaten three of his heroes. I mean, guys that
dude,
he
yeah.
as a kid was watching on YouTube, you know.
That's why I love that reaction so much. Like that match was so much fun just to be a part of. But yeah,
I
that
can't
reaction
imagine.
was so cool. So,
And I've
but
got a question for you off air about that match too. Don't let me
yeah, okay,
forget.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now we get to these last two. We both have the same last two. Who do you have in second?
My number two is G Raver. Now, like I said, I was going off of who my favorite, deathmatch wrestler is. And my number one seed, he already knows that because like I told you this off air earlier, me and John Wayne Murdoch have conversations all the time. He's asked me before, who is your favorite deathmatch wrestler? And I tell him all the time, G Raver. G Raver is the man. He does some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. And
Sometimes with John Wayne Murdoch.
Facts, yeah, yeah. At the Black Craft show when he jumped off the top of the screen. Oh my gosh.
At the
Let's see
4th of
what
July show when he jumped off the roof onto just some doors.
dude. Yeah, yeah. He does some crazy stuff.
I mean, the dude's got to have like a bruised liver right now
Dude.
from 4 days ago.
Yeah, or how about how his head is still feeling from TOS? Was that TOS?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that shot he took at TOS. I'm telling you, if you took that shot at the WWE, we don't see you for 9 months.
Dude, yeah, yep, yeah. And he was
If we
working the next
ever see
day,
you
wasn't
again,
he?
I think he took a
I
week
believe
off.
okay, all right. I was gonna say I know that he had bookings, so because he's
I
always
could be
booked. So
wrong. Yeah, I could be
I
completely
don't
wrong.
know. Yeah,
And
I don't know. I
people will
really
let me know
I
if I'm
didn't do
wrong.
that much research. Yeah, I didn't do that much
Yeah,
research.
I
So
didn't
let us
either.
know if we are wrong. But yeah, my number two is G Raver. He's one of my favorite deathmatch wrestlers to watch and to work with also, and a really good dude. Behind the character, but he is. I could see him taking this tournament just as much as I could, my number one seed. But and also too some of the stuff that he's been, as far as the same reason I put Marcus at 4 above Masada and Pondo and Orn and Aiden Blackheart and all these guys, like because Raver, he's won maybe a handful. He hasn't won too many tournaments, and none of the major no, he just won TOS. No, no, he hurt his head in TOS. Never mind. But he's never won any of the major tournaments yet. Besides, oh wait, no, he did win Tournament of Death, didn't he, last year?
Raver?
No, that was Jimmy Lloyd.
It was
Won it
Lloyd.
over
Yeah.
him. Yeah, and did the brain bust on top of the ladder. Yeah. Yeah. So he's been to a ton of finals. I know that for a fact. He's been to a ton of finals. But has never actually cemented
He
that major tournament win.
he's won
Um,
Survival of the Sickest, Hardcore
okay.
Kingdom, and Lords of Anarchy.
Okay. Well, I guess Lords is one of the major tournaments technically, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
I would
So
yeah, maybe
I'd put Lords up there. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Because I mean,
Especially in a
well,
world
just
where KOD doesn't exist anymore.
man, you got to remind us, don't you?
I'm sorry.
It's
Oh,
okay.
we
It's
all
okay.
know. We all know it's coming back. It's just KOD has taken breaks in the past.
Dude, Ian's trying. I promise you that. And that might be an exclusive or whatever for our podcast, but Ian is trying. He really, really is. He really wants to have a King of the Death match. I mean, y'all know how it's Ian freaking Rotten. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
he loves regular wrestling all day, every day. And I mean, we're doing some of the best regular wrestling going right now, even if people aren't really paying attention to us. But I promise you, he's trying to bring KOD back. So,
It's
but
only
that's
a
a whole
matter
other.
of time until people start paying attention to that. The more guys that keep leaving there to go to Impact,
Yeah,
AEW is going to pull a couple of those guys as well.
yeah, yeah.
It's only a matter of time until that. Uh, I might sound silly, but I truly think that's going to be a double A indie, which I think is a compliment. I don't mean that as a slight or an insult.
No, no, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think it's going to be that tier right below. Like, I think it's going to be on an even tier with like PWG. I think it could even. I almost look at Impact as an indie
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
But it's going to be on that
Well,
tier. I think you'll be able to mention
and
Ida.
well, hold on. Sorry to cut you off onto what you're
No,
saying. A lot of the guys that GCW are using right now, Ian was using last year.
right.
For
Well, that's
instance,
what I was just going to say.
Alex Zane, the guy that just did the over the top 630.
Yep.
Alex Zane has been coming to IWA for a long time, at least the last 2 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and everybody's like, "Who is this guy? Where did he come from?"
Well,
I
that's not
love
the
Alex
first
Zane.
time
He's the
CM
man.
Punk was there. I mean,
Well,
come on.
I mean, I don't want to list off all the
Yeah.
people who's been there, because I could go all night as far as just the different people that have sat under Ian's learning tree. But
Right.
you tell people that, and they're like, "Oh, well, who cares?" You know what I mean?
Right. Oh
But
yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah.
what are y'all
Like,
doing? What are y'all doing right now? You know what
yeah.
I mean?
All those
So,
smart marks get real excited about that shit.
oh hell yeah, yeah. But anyway, let's get we're getting way off track.
Oh yeah.
So,
Gonna
but
start
yeah,
burying
so
a third of our listeners.
my number two, was G Raver. Who do you have at the 2 spot?
I have G
And
Raver as
obviously,
well.
kind of foreshadowing into our 1 spot.
I have G Raver as well.
Okay.
And for pretty much all the same reasons, when I started looking at everything, I was kind of down to. I knew Orton couldn't go any further than third. I couldn't put him above either of the other two guys. So then I start looking, and I'm like, John is nuts. John is the craziest guy, I think, in deathmatch wrestling right now. I'm sure other people argue about that, but I think John is probably the biggest risk taker out there.
Yep. I agree.
That he can work the hybrid style when we're talking chain wrestling. He can do the hybrid style and do lucha. He can do the hybrid style and work strong and deathmatch. He can kind of do all three, and he's a runner up to Matt Tremont in KOD 1 year, and then the next year he beat and won KOD. So to put anybody ahead of a winner of the KOD is pretty much impossible.
Yep.
Especially when the guy's still in his early 30s, I think, in his prime. John might not be the biggest body guy in the world, but John can work, and John can work a long match. So I think John can go multiple rounds, and I think we see John Wayne Murdoch at the end of the night with the trophy. And then, of course, somebody's going to come out and break it on him. But
well, and to further onto your point, my John Wayne Murdoch is my number one for all the same reasons. It's hard to put anybody in this tournament over John Wayne Murdoch at the moment. If G Raver is my favorite deathmatch wrestler right now, John Wayne Murdoch is hands down my number two. And I've told him that, whenever we had that conversation, I was like, he was like, who's your number two? And I was like, I don't know, probably you. Not even
motherfucker
smoke,
got a cheesy smile too, didn't he?
Oh, you already know. So, but I had to premise it with not even blowing smoke up your ass, bro.
Right.
But John Wayne Murdoch is killing it. It's hard to argue with his accolades, with his credentials, what he's done and what he's doing right now. He is he's held tag team gold all over with any different company you could think of. I know right now he's the Paradigm Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion with Reed Bentley. He's been a GCW Tag Team Champion, an IWA Mid-South Tag Team Champion, and champion, a heavyweight champion. He's won KOD, one other, prestigious tournaments. Like it's hard to put John Wayne Murdoch anywhere other than one in this entire tournament. So
I had a conversation with him a while back, and I said, "Is there a bump you won't take?" And he said, "I don't think so. As long as I get the envelope before the show, I don't think there's a bump I won't take."
I believe that. I legit believe that. Like he almost has no fear, and I don't know if he feels no pain or what, but I mean, we've seen him do bumps off of the top of barns. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Scaffold bumps. Like it doesn't matter. John doesn't care, and not only that, but he was doing the Canadian Destroyer. Well, he calls it the Deep South Destroyer, but bro.
I watched him at that Resistance show 2 ago when New Jack was there, 11 feet away from me. I took my 5-year-old to that show. In hindsight, probably should have. He hung out with Aiden during the death match. He and Aiden talked about, what were they talking about? I think they were talking about Pokemon.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
But
I mean, Aiden's a little bit of a nerd, so I believe
yeah,
it.
and like 7 feet away from us, he hits a Deep South Destroyer on Orin on the freaking bleachers. Those aluminum bleachers don't move.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think you were reffing that too. Yeah, you were there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was referencing that. Yeah. And speaking of those bleachers, those are the same bleachers that Shane Mercer picked up and threw in the ring. So,
Can I tell you how scared I was that those bleachers were gonna break a rope and that show was gonna be over?
bro, dude, I had no clue what was going to happen. I was just there for the ride.
I'm like, those
I
bleachers weigh a couple 100 pounds.
although I did know Shane was going to do it because he knew he was going to have to do something crazy, and he said, "I'm going to use the bleachers as a weapon." That's all he told me,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "Okay, cool." And then whenever he started going towards the ring with those bleachers, I was like, "Oh shoot, are you sure, bro? Like, bro, chill, like
I'm like,
chill, you
that
know?"
rope. There's no way those ropes are gonna take that. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna have an extra rope. They're gonna work with two
Yeah,
ropes. Oh, I was getting very nervous.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, let's go further. That was our
That's
seeding. That's what we think that the seeds are following as far as like rankings and stuff. Um, However, who do you think who's your dark horse for the tournament? Who do you think is going to surprise everybody and take this tournament?
I'm gonna say if I have to pick a dark horse in this, it's gonna be Aiden. I think he's got everything that kind of lines up that if you say we're gonna put Aiden over in the tournament, there's like no one there that could be like, well, the guy doesn't deserve it. The guy's not good enough at this or this or this. So I think, and I also think if we close our eyes and this is all shoots, Aiden's tough enough to hang with any of those guys.
Oh,
So
definitely.
I take
Yeah,
Aiden there.
yeah. Okay.
Who do you have?
Well, mine is actually Orrin Veidt for all the reasons that you put him at number 3.
Okay.
Because Orrin is hot right now. He's extremely talented, and the way that Resistance has pushed him, beating who he beat at the last show, it's kind of hard to to ignore that trajectory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Orrin is going to be the one that will. Okay, if you go off of based off of what you said as far as the Resistance and how they've pushed him so far, then fans of the Resistance, it won't surprise. However, all of the deathmatch fans across Facebook and all the internet and stuff will be surprised as hell. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I put him as my dark horse, is because more if I were looking at it as like if I wasn't at the tournament and I saw Orrin Veidt won, I would be a little bit surprised. Not too surprised because I'm a huge fan of Orrin, but I would be a little bit surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I put him as my dark horse. But, however, I did also. It's funny you said Aiden because I put it could be Aiden. Aiden could be my dark horse also, because for all the same reasons that I put Orton as a dark horse.
He smokes some Flocka and just gets going, right?
It goes crazy and just knocks the hell out of everybody. You never know,
Right.
But Aiden is killing it right now. Aiden's got a lot of buzz behind him. Like we were talking about earlier, he's been doing stuff out on the West Coast. He's been doing stuff in Mexico. Getting his name out there. And you never know. Aiden Blackheart could surprise the hell out of everybody and take this. And I know for a fact that the Resistance really, really likes him. So
yeah.
he's been on the last few shows because that's who I ride with normally. So
Right. Skip the next question because I think we already answered that. But any
pretty much.
dream matches in there that you'd love to see? I've got 2 that jump out at me right away looking at it.
Oh, actually, you know what though? Hold on. Let's go back to that next question. The question that we had on there was who do we think will win? The person I put as the winner is actually my number 3 seed. I think Schlack is going to take it all.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't have my number 1 seed winning either, so yeah.
I love Schlack. I think Schlack is the man. And I really, really want to see him get more tournament wins under his belt. I see the booking and I understand why bookers do it as far as, not putting him further in tournaments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's always cool to see a big man fall, and
It's a way to build
whatever.
a baby face a
But
little bit.
exactly, but Schlack is too big and too strong to be losing so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think eventually he's got to beat the shit out of everybody and take a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I put Schlack as my number one. I really want to see him get more tournament wins under his belt and start to kind of cement his legacy. Besides just being, the next Bruiser Brody, I would love to see him get more tournament wins and stuff like that. So that's why I put Schlack. I also put it possibly could be Raver. I think Schlack or Raver. I'm kind of 50-50, maybe 45-55 depending on the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I have two names written down as well.
Yeah, I'm either going Schlack or Raver. I'm not sure. Of course, I've already put over Raver enough. But yeah, man, I think it could go either way as far as Schlack or Raver. But yeah, who do you think is going to take the whole entire tournament?
So the first name I have written down is Oren. For all the reasons I covered earlier, they've got to rocket up the kid's ass. 100% deserved. I never mean that as a bad thing. If you deserve the push you're getting, you deserve the push you're getting. So I think he 100% deserves that push, and I think they're very smart because I think in a year or two, Oren is going to be the face of deathmatch wrestling in the United States.
Agreed.
I think Oren will be the Jun Kasai of the United States by 2021.
Wow, that's awesome.
I firmly believe that. So I think Oren would be, if I just had to make a snap decision, if I think about it a little more, I say Marcus Crane. It's his backyard. They can play up the local boy done good. Or Marcus isn't really from Chicago originally. He's from like the Quad Cities, I think. But you can play all the stuff up of the bar back at Reggie's that comes out and busts his ass for you guys, and now here he is. There's a lot of good stories to tell there. And I know this show's on pay-per-view. Are they having a play-by-play and a color guy on it too? Do you know?
Well, their last few they have, so I'm sure they probably will. I'm not exactly sure who though. I know that the last show, Gabriel Barron, who is Jock's brother, he does commentary. And then I'm not sure who the other guy is. So, but I know that they have had commentary on the last few shows.
So especially with commentary and one of the promoters doing the commentary, you can really put that stuff over.
Yeah.
And I think that might be a really cool way. And then my thought is if you have Marcus win and maybe have Marcus beat Oren in the finals, and then you could say, Marcus Oren had it all laid out for him. And maybe the thing I've been preaching for the last year is we can get a heel in deathmatch wrestling. I would love to have some heels and have some true storylines that run through shows. Maybe have Marcus do something kind of swarmy to win, or Oren do something kind of swarmy, but still take it, Marcus still overcome that. And we can make Oren a heel. If you have any play with the booking committee, I actually have about 9 pages written down on how we could do this whole thing. But I spend a lot of time in the car for work, but yeah, I spend a lot of time in the car for work, and I've been dealing with kidney stones for the last few days, so I've been sitting around thinking a lot, and I was writing some stuff out on how I would do a heel turn to get a couple of build some nice heels, because my thing is I hate listening to podcasts and hearing guys bitch about something but not offer solution. So if I'm going to write something, if I'm going to have a problem, I'm a creative writer in my spare time anyways, I'm going to write a heel turn.
Absolutely.
So maybe one way we can get a little bit of a heel turn in there, turn a guy heel and build a show. And then you can have let's say in, December, when deathmatch wrestling kind of hibernates for a couple of months, the old tournament season's behind us. The new tournament season hasn't really started yet. Do a Resistance Pro Cage of Death kind of thing where you put Marcus and Oren in a Cage of Death kind of show. Like who was it? Sammy and crap. Damn it. It's like one of the best deathmatch wrestlers ever, and I can't think of him. Blonde guy.
Sammy and Danny Havoc.
Danny Havoc, yeah. Sammy and Havoc did. You could do those two. Could definitely go out there and put on a show like similar to that.
Yeah.
So you could build for the next 5 months to that and blow that off in December or January. I would love to see that. So that's kind of how I put both of those two there.
Well, and that's what's kind of been unfortunate about VOW not having any shows here recently, because they put together a really cool heel group at their last show. Or was that at Lords of Anarchy
I was
last
at
year?
Lords. I was at
That
Lords.
that
They did
heel
that.
that heel faction between, was it Murdoch, G Raver, Marcus Crane, and somebody, and they beat
I've only
the
seen that show
crap out
once,
of
so
Castle
yeah.
and Valentine. But yeah,
Mhm.
they put together a really cool heel faction at the end of it, and then we didn't have any more shows, and we still haven't had any more shows. So,
Yeah.
well, I think we had one more after that, but and they kind of had played with it a little bit there too, but not doing anything this year. It kind of sucks because, like you said, the way that they were turned, it was so perfect, and the crowd hated them for it, and that's
Mhm.
John Wayne Murdoch, G Raver, like Marcus Crane, guys that are hard to turn heel. And I can't remember what
Mhm.
exactly they did off the top of my head because it was so long ago. But yeah,
Right. Yeah, I'm
man.
in the same boat. I watch a lot of deathmatch shows for the old
I watched a lot
podcast.
of
I watched a
wrestling,
lot of
period. So,
wrestling. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but yeah,
So what dream
uh,
matches do you have in there? Out of those 8, there's 64 different dream matches you can make, but which dream
yeah.
matches do you have? Let's try and limit
Well,
it to 3 because we still want to talk about the ladies too.
definitely, yeah. I got 3. And they may have happened before, and I just haven't been able to catch them. But I really would love to see Orrin versus Raver. I don't know if that's ever happened or not, but Orrin
That
Vite
happened
and
at
G
400
Raver would
degrees. That was the first time I ever saw Orin. It's 400
really okay.
GCW 400 degrees.
All right.
It's a contender for match of the year for sure.
Word. Okay. Hell yeah. Okay. Well
That
then,
was in
there you
Summit.
go. I'd love to see it live. We'll put it that
Right.
way.
Yeah. You want to be
So
the third guy.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
John Gray's
Yep.
gonna be like,
Yeah.
I'll get this one. You're like, no, homie, sit down.
No. 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 Sorry, bud. I got a list. um. Let's see. I also put Aiden versus John Wayne Murdoch. That I have seen live. I've refed it. I want to see it again. That's the only reason I put it on the list. This is
Dude,
more like
hell
my dream
yeah.
matches for this tournament specifically. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stuff that I would love to see happen in this tournament, only because of more backstories more than anything, I think. You know what I mean? But Aiden and John Wayne Murdoch is one of those. They've had battles, blood battles. And I was fortunate to ref quite a few of them, and actually, uh, the former Catfish cult leader had me on. We used to do a lot of stuff together back in the day, and he had me on a podcast one time, and he asked me my top 5 favorite matches, and Aiden and John Wayne Murdoch and a House of Horrors match was actually on that list because that was my maybe second or third IWA Mid South show. And like that storyline was hot right when I came into IWA. Um, that's part of the reason why I put on. It's more personal reasons more than anything why I want to see Aiden and John Wayne in the tournament. And then also too, this may have happened, it may not. But I put Pondo and John Wayne Murdoch, Madman Pondo and John Wayne Murdoch. And the reason I put that in there is because locally here, there's a match that a lot of people are wanting to see. And because I'm a little bit inside baseball, I really don't know if it'll ever happen. But even I would appreciate it a lot if it would. And that's the Rejects against Bakagajin, Too Tough
Okay.
Tony, Madman Pondo.
Yeah.
Everybody in this area is begging for that match, like begging. Between the 20 companies that's in this area, the fans are begging for that match to get booked. And so that's the reason why I put Pondo versus John Wayne Murdoch in there, just because of that connection. So, what's your
That would
dream
be
matches for the
awesome.
tournament? Yeah, that
My
would that
first
would be a lot
one
of fun to watch.
is
Yeah.
Masada and Schlack. I don't. Again, I think that's happened, but damn, I'd like to see that live.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that's gonna be 2 big old hosses out there. It's gonna be an MMA fight without any technique. It's no offense, but no striking technique. They're just gonna beat the dog piss out of each other. Uh,
Exactly.
the next one I have is Marcus and Raver. I'd like to see that.
Right.
I think those two would tell a really, really cool story. And then the last one I have is John Wayne and Aiden.
Okay. Hell yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Aiden and John Wayne have had plenty of matches, and that's what I think would make one now even better, is the fact
Yeah,
that in 2 years since they've really even had a match. Well, they've had, four ways and different stuff at different places, but it's been, 2 years since they've had a one-on-one singles match, with the death match, elements added to it. And they've both improved, tenfold. So I would love to see that happen. Yeah.
And genuinely, guys that are somewhat familiar with each other can tell a much better story, can work a much better match.
Definitely.
One of the biggest things I really look for in a match, it's one of the ways I help. I don't know if I suspend my belief, but it helps more involve me in the match, is I look to see if guys are like taking care of each other and being safe. And I think generally when guys know each other better, they seem to work much safer. It probably sounds like a nerd thing to look for that in a match, but whatever. And I mean, John's one of the guys that it never looks like anybody ever gets hurt working with him. He might kill himself, but you're going to be safe. So, and Aiden seems about the same way. So I just think those two could be really, really cool. So now,
well, there's also this element added to it. They might work a little bit more safe, but the more you know somebody, the more stiff you also work a little bit too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're gonna lay it in. Yeah,
so,
those chops,
absolutely.
Those chops are gonna be busting chest blood vessels for sure.
Plus they're IWA kids anyway. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're from the school of hit hard and safe places. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Did they break in together, or is Aiden a few years behind John?
No, Aiden's just a little bit behind John. I know John is originally from the Tennessee area and then came up to IWA. Aiden came around maybe about 4 years ago. John Wayne's been around for about 5 or 6. So it's like, right around the same time period. But I know John's been there a little bit longer than Aiden has. John's been around a little bit longer than Aiden has. So.
All right. So what's the finals? If out of these 8 guys, book your dream finals. Now it could be one of those dream matches, or it could be another one.
Well, my last two, the last 2 questions that you had put on, that we had talked about or whatever, I kind of put those together, as far as what I want to see and what I probably think it's going to be. I'm really kind of leaning towards Schlack versus John Wayne Murdoch. But then also too, because of that hometown connection, I could see it being Schlack versus Marcus Crane.
Mm-hmm.
And either of those is going to be a banger, hell of a match. So,
yep.
And they're going to do some really crazy shit between those 3 guys. Or hell, even put them in a 3-way. I don't care.
I don't like 3-way death matches. No, thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind. Don't put them in 3-way.
No, I know a lot of guys do like those. My one thing.
Well, I mean, it happens a lot. That's the only reason why I said that.
Well, and depending on time, it might happen again there.
Yeah. I hope not. I feel like we shouldn't have the time constraints that others have had here recently. So, but anyway, what's your who do you think is going to be in the finals? Who do you think is going to be going 1-on-1?
So the finals I'd love to see, if I got to pick any finals I want, would be would be Raver and Vite. Those guys tore it down. The first time I ever saw Oren at all, and the first time I saw G Raver live was at that 400-degree show on a snowy night in Chicago in February. And that was one of the first real deathmatch heavy shows I was at. I had seen like Bueller and a couple of guys do some deathmatch shows here around northern Indiana, but never really had seen a true deathmatch show live. So that was pretty crazy for that to be one of the first ones. So I'd love to see that match again. But what I think we'll see is Oren and Crane.
Okay. Yep. I could see Crane being in the finals too, just for that hometown connection. You know what I mean?
I think it's too good of a story not to necessarily tell.
Yeah.
So here we're going to get into the women's deathmatch tournament. This is going to be on Saturday, July 13th. The show is also going to start at 7:30. Tickets are available at the same website we talked about earlier, which is Live Die Resist. And you can link to that from their Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Live Die Resist. And then another slash because you have to close off the thing for Facebook to read it. And this is Girl Fight Wrestling and Resistance teaming together. Girl Fight Wrestling is Pondo's company, right?
Yep, it sure is, yeah.
Okay. So it's Pondo bringing his girls up from Southern Indiana, which I'm going to rely on you a lot for these Southern Indiana girls because I unfortunately like I said in the beginning, don't know these girls that well. I know Randy West and Jules Malone. I know who they are, but not a whole lot deeper than that. And Amazing Maria. But yeah, I'm going to just, for the interest of time, I'm going to read through the names, and then you and I together will break down the matches, and we'll go from there, if that's okay with you.
Awesome. Yep.
So we've got the first entrant is Jules Malone, the Hardcore Princess. Then we have Addie Starr, Randy West, Marlena Knox, Chloe, Nina Monette, I think is how you probably say that last name.
Nina Monet.
Nina Monet, okay. Yep. I wondered if it was Play on Molette, the drink. Or you got Amazing
right.
Maria. You never know with workers. These names sometimes can get a little rough. And then the hardest one to say here, Sabrina.
Right.
So the first round pairing gives us the Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone versus Nina in a light 2 match. You want to go through the next couple?
Yep. Let me pull it back up here.
Yeah. As we hear you type in your passcode.
And then we got, hold on. Where'd it go? There we go. You might have to edit this part.
Yeah, we're not doing any editing. It's going up dirty. It's just going to be... we got Mark. Go ahead.
Here we go. I got it.
Yeah.
All right. And then after that, we got Marley Knox versus the toughest broad in wrestling, Randy West. And that will be a barbed wire boards match. You want to go ahead with number 3? You want to just go back and forth?
Yeah, sure. Then Addie Starr versus Sabrina in a Fans Bring the Weapons match. I think that one's going to get a little nuts.
Oh, definitely. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Both girls are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth match in the first round, we have the Amazing Maria going against the Killer Chloe in a Bat Madness match. That sounds violent as hell.
Yeah, that sounds like... To me, that sounds like shots that are meant to get worked and then don't, and then some girl's going to end up with some busted ribs and pissed off, and a whole lot of awesomeness is going to ensue.
I think so.
Because I remember, so we used to yard, like, sort of, nothing like, we never recorded or anything. Trying to work a bat shot once your hands get sweaty is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
You're just laying a bat into your buddy.
Even if it's a wiffle ball bat.
Yeah. It
even a
stings like
bat.
A bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. It stings. Stings. So.
And speaking of Sting, they said there was an interview with Stevie Ray on Busted Open on XM the other day, and they were talking to him about something, and the Sting's rubber bat shot that he took at must have been like Halloween Havoc or one of those shows. And they're like, it looked like he laid it into you pretty hard. And he's like, oh yeah, Sting laid that rubber bat into you hard. And he's like, it knocked me so senseless. And he goes, and I took it in the shoulder, and it still rung my bell. So,
jeez.
Stevie Ray's not a little dude. Sting's not huge. No, so that tells you that even a worked bat can mess you up.
Hell yeah. Jeez. Ouch.
So I'm going to actually step back from seeding the tournament. I don't know these girls well enough to feel like, I know 4 of them pretty well. Yeah. I don't feel like I know them well enough to seed them. So I'm going to let you... Because it seems like most of these girls that I don't know are from your area, and you probably are familiar with them. So I'll let you seed them, and then I do have the rest of the stuff though.
Yeah, well, I'm familiar with most of them. The only one that I'm not familiar with, and that's the reason why she's at my number 8, is Marley Knox. I know she's done some stuff for SMPW, which is a company in Illinois, and she's done a lot of stuff there. I know that she managed Pondo some up in SMPW, and also a guy named Cash Borden, which most deathmatch fans are familiar with Cash. And she did some managing for those 2 guys. And I think that she might have been a part of a faction, but that's really all I know about her. I've never worked with her. I've never met her before. So I'm kind of interested to see what she's going to do in this tournament, and just see, how she is in general. Cause I've definitely heard of her. But I've never gotten a chance to see her yet. So that's literally the only reason she's at my number 8 seed.
She was one on the deathmatch pages. Guys were trying to find some stuff about, and Marcus Crane chimed in and goes, if you guys haven't seen her before, you're going to want to watch. She's nuts.
Yeah.
She's going to take some bumps. Don't look at her and think, just another indie girl trying to work a deathmatch.
Well, I mean, her profile picture right now at the moment is her with a nice little mask. You know what I mean? So a nice little mask of blood. So
Yeah, and she's got a staple
she's
gun in her
she's
hand, and
right. Yeah, yeah. She's done some deathmatch stuff. I mean, obviously. So I'm kind of excited to see what she's gonna do. But like I said, that's the only reason she's at my number 8 is because I'm
mm,
really not familiar with her. Um, my number 7 is somebody I am somewhat familiar with. I've worked with her a couple times at Girl Fight. It's Nina Monet. The reason I put her at number 7 is because I kind of looked into her cage match, the cage match listings and stuff, and I don't think she's done a whole lot of death matches, um, from what I can tell. However, I will say that she is an intimidating character. She plays like kind of a witch type character, type voodoo-ish type. Does some really crazy looking stuff, and she hits hard. I know that for a fact because I've refed a few of her matches. So who knows what she's gonna do? I mean, it's cool to see her step in the deathmatch world and
mhm.
and take that chance. She may have competed in the one last year, the Death Becomes Her tournament last year,
Yeah, it
but
doesn't look like those results actually made it to cage match because I was trying to figure
okay,
out who was in that, and
yeah.
I
I
can't
think
remember them. And
I'm about 75% positive she was in that. I'm not like super positive, but I'm pretty positive. My number 6, I went with the Killer Chloe. Chloe is, and the reason I put her at number 6, Chloe here recently has been doing a lot, more on the hardcore side, as far as the last, man, maybe 2 or 3 matches that she's had at Girl Fight, at the Girl Fight shows that we've had have been street fights or a little bit more hardcore.
mhm.
Weapons were involved or something. So, and I know Chloe is willing to go balls to the wall when it comes to death matches and is willing to get a little bloody. So I think that Chloe is gonna show out and might possibly even surprise some people. However, not a lot of people know who she is, and that's literally the only reason I put her at number 6. Um, my number 5, um, my number 5 could be flopped with my number 4, because I'm not really familiar with her, but I know that she has a lot of experience in this realm. My number 5 is Sabrina. Sabrina is an IWA Mid South product. I know that she used to referee for IWA, and then she ended up, turning into a wrestler and started wrestling and doing some stuff. And I know that she was venturing more on the deathmatch side, um, with the last that anybody had really heard of her. And she was, doing some crazy stuff. I've seen some pictures where she has some nice color, and does some really cool stuff. Um, I haven't really got to watch too many of her matches. I've just seen some pictures, of a lot of stuff, but I know that she's willing to get crazy. So
On
that's why I
the
put her at my
picture
number
that
5. What?
the
Oh, go
picture
ahead. Go
that
ahead.
the Death Becomes Her 2 flyer has, she's got the best Crimson mask out all the girls, but probably Randy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And she's a
So,
cute girl too, so that helps.
right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. So,
I
and
think
that's why I
Marcus
put her
Crane
at
had the
five.
comment on her picture at one point though, who beat up their little sister.
Oh, damn.
I think that was her that he commented that on.
Okay. My number 4, I put Jules Malone, the hardcore princess. I put Jules at 4 because she is a little bit more experienced than most of the girls that are in the tournament, as far as just in pro wrestling in general. I'm not exactly sure how long she's been in the business, but I know that she's quite experienced and she's been doing it for a little while. And I know here recently she's been doing a lot more deathmatch stuff, at different places and popping up different places. So that's the reason I put Jules Malone as my number 4. My number 3, I haven't seen too much of. I did see her match up in the New York, New Jersey area, and that's Addie Starr. I put Addie Starr at number 3, because she has a lot of buzz behind her right now, and I've heard a lot of really, really good things. And of course, the match that I saw, I don't even remember, I know Jeff Cannonball was in the match. I'm not sure who else was in the match, but I know that was a crazy match that she had up at WrestleMania weekend in New York, New Jersey this past year. So I put Addie Starr as my number 3 because she's got a lot of steam behind her at the moment right now, and I know she's doing some really cool stuff. So, um, My number two, I had to put. See, and this is another one that I could flip either way. To be completely honest with you, but gut feeling. The first name I wrote down as my number two was Randy West. However, Randy could be number one too. Randy's a former queen of the deathmatch. However, the Amazing Maria is a former prince of the deathmatch, and she beat a tournament full of guys. Whereas Randy, it was a bunch of girls too, in the tournament as well. But Randy's no slouch, and Randy will go out there and bust you in the mouth. So it could go either way as far as Randy or Maria being my number one, number two. But the way that I wrote it down, I put Randy West as two, and then the Amazing Maria as one.
And that's probably how I would have put those two. Those are the two that I'm the most familiar with their work. But Randy's an Illinois girl, so I could see putting Randy over the girl from Southern Indiana, only if I'm just looking at it just that way. Yeah. But isn't she billed out of Canada? So I guess, or does she bill out of Jefferson?
Now she's billed out of she is billed from evading her latest crime scene.
Okay.
So, that's where she's billed from now. Yeah. I think she dropped the Canada thing. So,
but Randy, Randy being the Illinois girl, she can play that up, and Randy's been working indies up and down Illinois for as long as I can remember. I would like to see her do well.
And then also now her and Joseph Schwartz and Zodiac, but as a bomb shelter, they've been doing the same thing. So yeah.
So who do you see as the dark horse?
Well, my dark horse, I kind of alluded to it earlier. Is who I put as my number 6 seed. I think it could be Chloe to take it all as the dark horse, the one that surprises everybody. She's been getting a little bit, more and more hardcore here recently, and doing some crazy shit. And I've seen some really entertaining street fights here with her recently. So I put her as my dark horse for that reason. I also put as a maybe a possibility. I went with Sabrina, just because Sabrina has some experience in this field. I believe she's probably. I'm sure she's been in a couple tournaments. I think she's been in a Queen before, maybe. And so I could see Sabrina possibly taking it and being the dark horse that surprises everybody. But I definitely
have Sabrina as my dark horse.
Yeah, my gut feeling though was Chloe, just because Chloe is doing some really crazy shit right now at this moment at Pro Fight and other places. So,
and that's the one, the wild card. Yeah, Sabrina would be the one I pick. The one wild card I don't know is I don't know the girl fight storylines.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going on there. Unfortunately, with going behind my curtain a little bit, I have 4 kids. And there's a lot going on in my house. So my wrestling time keeps getting dwindled down. So I have to pick the feds I watch, and Girl Fight sometimes shows up on that feed. Sometimes it doesn't. It's also who do I have to pay for versus who can I get a link. There is only so many dollars. But I would say Sabrina, and I'm going to add one thing, and I don't want to sound sexist, but there's not really another way to put it. Putting a young, pretty girl over in the tournament is not necessarily going to be a bad thing when you're going to basically, I think part of Resistance's plan, if I'm Resistance, is I'm going to bring the guys, all of the hardcore deathmatch, the GCW, the CZW fans. I'm going to bring them in with the guys tournament on Friday, keep them in Chicago for a night, get them to the girls on Saturday. The girls will take bumps, and I'm sure they'll do plenty of crazy shit, but some of the guys in the tournament are going to take some amazing bumps that I don't know that the girls are going to do. And I think one way to maybe start selling some of these 50-year-old guys that, the guys that, get off to watching the Bellas do their shit before they get in the ring is put the title or put the championship on a young girl that's pretty. And Sabrina kind of fits that mold. So, not trying to sound like a sexist or anything, but that's kind of where I went with that. Not to sound like a creep.
I could see. No, I could completely see that point too. Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, the rest of the girls are all pretty, but Sabrina's probably, if I'm picking one, I would say probably the one that's got the best mass appeal. So then your favorite to win it?
My favorite to win it, I got to go with Amazing Maria.
Okay.
That's my favorite. She she's been getting out there as far as, this past year, or well, I guess technically it was last year, but after her Prince of the Deathmatch win, she started going balls to the wall. And not only that, but that Prince of the Deathmatch, she took some really crazy bumps.
Yeah.
Especially in her in that was it a three-way with her, Eric Wayne and Marco Stunt. I think it was either three-way or four-way. And in that match, I know specifically she took a bump that really messed her up. And then in the finals, she cut herself all up. So Maria's willing to go crazy, balls to the wall, and I could see her taking it all.
Yeah. And I want to,
if not her, then I would probably go with Randy West.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about the way I phrased that, I was like, not that I'm saying these girls aren't going to take amazing bumps and sick bumps. I feel like the 8 guys in the tournament the night before are going to constantly one-up each other.
No. Yeah.
And I didn't mean to say that these girls aren't going to take big bumps.
Yeah. I completely agree with what you said. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to top some of the stuff that the guys in the first round, because, I mean, like we had talked about earlier, some of those guys are damn near willing to almost die. So,
And I will give 100% credit to every one of those girls. I would never get in a death match with anyone. So, major balls, you're all tougher than me. My favorite to win, though, I'm going to take Addie Starr. I think Addie's got the rub from the stuff that happened out east this spring. And I think she can bring a name and some legitimacy. Again, this is coming kind of from an outside, and I kind of feel stupid even making a prediction, as uneducated as I am in this. But I think Addie adds the ability to really add some name value and help. If you're going to start building a hardcore or a women's side, I know she's not necessarily homegrown to the IWA guys, but I think she adds a lot to that stable, and could again maybe give us a heel in deathmatch wrestling. So I would like to see it.
And like I said, she's got a lot of buzz behind her right now. So
a lot of buzz. She's got 1 million Twitter followers.
Jeez.
Not a bad. I don't know if she literally has 1 million, but she has a bunch.
But yeah.
I don't know that it's a bad thing to have her tweeting out stuff. And the same thing about Jules too. Jules is super popular on Twitter and stuff. So Jules could come through as a dark horse. I don't know why I didn't think about her. And another pretty girl as well. So, and not that they have to be pretty, but I guess you guys know my type. So let's go with the finals you'd love to see.
All right.
I'm sorry, any dream matches?
No, dream matches. Yeah, dream matches in the tournament. Some of the matches I picked that I would love to see. I would love to see Nina Monet go against Randy West, because, like I said earlier about Nina, she's got a great character, and she's pretty solid in the ring, and Randy is, just as much. She's got a great character, and she's solid in the ring.
A tough chick.
And she's a vet. And she's, well, to my point, she's a vet, and she could carry, a lot of different girls in the ring. Not saying that Nina's, bad or anything like that needs to be carried.
No, Nina doesn't need carried. And we're not. Yeah, we know what you mean. Randy's been asked to carry a lot of girls that she probably should have never even been in the stands, let alone get in the ring with.
Facts. Yeah. So that's one match I would really love to see is Nina Monet versus Randy. I would also really love to see.
Hang on, I want to say one thing real quick too.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
At that Resistance show that I was at, with New Jack and stuff, Randy, I had my 5-year-old. Randy came over, got on her knees, and talked to my 5-year-old for 5 or 10 minutes. We were going through some personal stuff at the time. I didn't have the extra cash to buy any merch, and I even, when we walked in, everybody's got their gimmick tables out, and Mike was looking at stuff, and my daughter I have a 15-month-old now, and she'd been in the hospital, and I had $1 million hospital bill. Didn't have 2 nickels to rub together at the time to buy a shirt or anything, and I said, hey, Mike, we're not going to look. We're kind of broke right now. Randy, even knowing that, still came over and spent 5 to 7 minutes, on his level, talking to him. Mike asked a very rude question. He asked where her tooth was. She doesn't have one of her front teeth are knocked out. and she said that one of the bad guys knocked it out. Didn't flinch at that. Randy is an amazing human being.
She really is. Yeah, she's a great woman. Yeah,
someone that
I
will
love
do
Randy
that to
West.
little kids, because while my passion is growing deathmatch wrestling, and especially Midwest deathmatch wrestling, and I think that's why John Wayne and Reed and Aiden and I have all hit it off so well, and you and I seem to be clicking pretty well as well, is we all share that passion. But the other passion I bring is getting kids into wrestling. My 5-year-old knows it's a work. I've already explained all that to him. I don't want him thinking this stuff's real. We'll watch UFC. He knows that's real. He does know this is a work and this is a story. But the same way that my mom took me to see Grease and Stomp, I want him to watch this and see the art that it is. And he sees that. And with Randy sitting there, and she talked to him about the bad guys. And I can't remember who there was a heel African-American woman that played like a very angry black woman. I can't remember what her name was, but she also kind of worked Mike the other way and said, "Don't you look at me," and was messing with him a little bit. And Randy like told her off. It was great. Mike got
Ronnie. It was Ronnie Nicole. Big Bang.
Yes.
Ronnie Nicole.
Yeah. Mike got to
I love Ronnie.
Story a little bit. And then in the parking lot, she even walked up to him and gave him a hug, afterwards. And she said, I hope I was just playing with you. I'm like, see, it's a joke. It's a story, Mike. We're at a movie.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I hated to go off. I know we're going a little over what we said we wanted to do, so we'll probably skip that last segment I have there. We'll just call it here, but or we could talk about like the main events maybe. But
okay,
I wanted to put Randy and honestly Resistance over as a whole. Everybody that they had there, they saw Mikey, and between Shane Mercer picking him up and putting him on his shoulder at one point, which Mike said that Shane smelled really bad. He just wanted down. But this is as much as, so Mike's not ready obviously at 5 to see light tubes and stuff, but what he is ready to see is the comedy matches, the legends matches, all that stuff, and start understanding how you can get involved in a story.
That's awesome.
And then cool. in 10 years when he's 15 or 16, he'll start, probably less than that, 12 years, he'll see some hardcore matches and then some death matches. That's how you build wrestling fans. But they've got to get involved in the story. I remember my first wrestling show I ever saw live was when a snake chewed on Macho Man Randy Savage's arm. I was there. I was standing on the ramp and watched Jake and Randy walk out. My best friend said was a firefighter in Fort Wayne, and we got to stand on the ramp. They shook Jake's hand, and I shook Randy's hand before they both walked out. Incredible. We knew it was a work, because as soon as they came back, they were laughing and smoking cigarettes. It smelled really weird. It was bizarre. We couldn't figure out. We kept asking why the cigarettes smelled funny. But yeah, it was. So I knew from a young age it was a work, but it was an art, and they were telling a story, and that's what I tried to get my son. So sorry to go off on the tangent, but yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, but like you said, Randy is a great person. She's an awesome woman, and really great in the ring. So, and then my other dream match is actually one of the matches that I think could be in the finals. It's Maria versus Randy. I've never got to see Maria, obviously amazing Maria versus Randy West. I've never got to see that match live, and I know that they've had matches together. But I'm almost positive I don't think I've ever got to see. If I may have refed one, but I couldn't even tell you when or where it was or what company or anything.
I'm pretty sure I watched a match of you guys the other day, and I think it looked like it was in the arena.
Okay, it could have been a girl fight. Man, I don't know. I feel like I have refed a match between them two, but it wasn't a death match. I would love to see those two go one-on-one in a death match. So
it looked like a strong style match, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They definitely hit hard for sure. Yeah. And I mean, when you get those two women in the ring, you kind of have to expect that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I never got to see them in a death match realm against each other, and I would love to see Amazing Maria go one-on-one with Randy West, with all the death match elements involved. That's why I put that as one of my dream matches. For the tournament, and then also it's one of the matches I could see possibly being in the finals. So, but before we get too ahead of ourselves, what's your dream matches?
So mine would be Addie Starr and Randy West.
Okay.
I think that just makes a lot of sense. But again, that could also be the finals. The other one I'd like to see is Randy and Sabrina. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Randy West. So, but I think that could also potentially sort of be maybe a torch passing kind of moment. I know Randy's by no way done, but I also know that Randy has a huge passion for going deathmatch wrestling, and she knows that she's not the future, and that these young girls are. And that could potentially be a way for her to give one of these young girls the rub, is to go out there and, bleed all over each other and put on a hell of a show. And I think those two, with the matches I've seen of Sabrina online, the stuff I've seen of Randy online and in person, I think those two could do they could show a lot of these boys how to do a lucha style hardcore match or a death match, I think.
For sure.
And then what's your finals?
All right, so I mean, I had to pick 3 different matches for my finals because there's 3 that I would love to see, and then there's the one that I said that I would really love to see between Maria and Randy West. But I could also see, I picked Maria as my winner, so I could definitely see Maria against Addie Starr being a possibility, just because of all the reasons that we've talked about. And some of the reasons why she's your pick, and then also Maria versus Jules. I could see that being the finals, but the finals that I would really, really love to see is definitely the amazing Maria versus Randy West. I really want to see those two get their shine. Like you said, they're both towards the end of their careers, and I would love to see them get some kind of shine before they hang it up finally. And both of them have enough accolades between the two of them, but I would love to see them bang it out.
No one's going to call that tournament illegitimate if one of them wins, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I would love to see that final between Maria and Randy West. What's your pick?
So I have 3 as well. The first one that jumps out to me would be Randy and Maria. Again, for everything we've said, I think we both pretty much line up on that. Then I have Addie and Jules. I think that'd be fun and just kind of different. The tournament's gonna have to break down kind of weird. There's gonna be an upset or something in there. Maybe if Jules gets to the finals, she's probably upset a couple of names, or maybe she went through the young girls. Or I think Jules definitely plays more of a heel, and I think it would be fun to have a heel make their way through the tournament. So I think that could be fun. And then the last one I would like to see is Randy and Sabrina. And again, for the stuff I was talking about before, let's get maybe. I don't know that Sabrina needs to win to get the rub from Randy. Again, I'd still probably like to see Randy win, but maybe Sabrina goes out there and puts on a show and just gets some rub. I do want the one thing I hate that happens sometimes in tournaments is if we seed them, it goes chalk. Especially, or at least in the first round, where all the favorites kind of win. The kids go out there and they do their job. And let's face it, this is a business. It is all predetermined, and the young kids are paying their dues. These young girls know a lot of them are going up there to count lights and do one match and get out of there. But I think sometimes a tournament can serve to help. I'm not saying that you need to put a girl that no one's ever heard of into the finals, but give her a win over somebody we know. I don't think that's a bad idea, or at least make her look strong. Build these girls, make it so when I try and search up who was it that I had to for Marlena Knox, I couldn't. She doesn't have a cage match. She doesn't have anything. Let's make it so there's a cage match for her. Or Chloe. She's the only thing I could find was a ladiessports.com interview. Give these, let's start building these girls up a little bit. If this is going to be, I hope that next year for Death Becomes Her 3, this is the preeminent women's deathmatch tournament in the country. I hope this is up there with Queen. Let's get these girls out there and start making some stars out of them.
I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah. And that's all the reasons why I could see somebody like Addie Starr winning too,
Yeah. And I was just going to say, unfortunately, that probably means we're going to a little more chalk in the tournament. But, it's you're going to need you got to put some kids got to win, and you got to get some names out there. But it's rough. I would never want to be a booker. I always think that in my brain that I'd be such a great booker. But then you start sitting down and you're like, well, I could just bring all four of these young kids up and have them all win, and you don't know how they're going to do. And the old hands. There's a reason Randy West has been around for over 20 years, or for about 20 years, is because she knows how to go out there and do a 20-minute match and tell a story. So
exactly.
Yeah. So then the other show we wanted to kind of touch on real quick is going to be the ICW Rated R Freedom Show, the American Way. That's going to be on July 28th, so towards the end of the month. We'll go through that whole card later on, but I do want to hit on because this isn't going to be just a deathmatch only show. We're deathmatch first, but we're Midwest wrestling too. So we'll go through that whole card a little later on, but there's some pretty cool. It looks like there's 3 good matches that are going to feature some deathmatch guys and some guys from out of town. So, Sean, if you want to take the first couple and where you think things are going to go.
Okay. Let's see. Well, we got a double main event for this show. For the ICW alternative title, a barbed wire doors and tubes bundle match. The Dark Prophet or Invite, who we've talked a lot about on this show, he is the current champion. Will be going against one of my favorites. I love this guy, Eddie Only. He is an AIW product, and Eddie is one of my favorite wrestlers right now. So that's going to be a really fire match. I would love to see that whenever it drops.
That's Minnesota versus Ohio right there, right?
What's that?
It's Minnesota versus Ohio. That's a Big Ten football game waiting to happen. That's going to be
Well, and it's 2 guys who are looking to really break their teeth in the deathmatch in the deathmatch realm, because I know Eddie Only is definitely intrigued by the deathmatch lifestyle and in the deathmatch world, I guess. And then of course Oren has been out here killing it for GCW, the Resistance, all kinds of companies, ICW. So I feel like that's going to be a very, very good match. So definitely.
Just at a glance, who do you have to take in that?
Man. I mean, if I knew their storylines and stuff a little better, I could probably make a better pick. I'm just going to go with Oren just because he's their current champion. He's a hometown guy. I don't know how much Eddie has really worked with that company.
And he just drop their other belt last month.
Okay.
So, yeah, I agree with you that I
could win it then. He could win it. So
yeah, I agree with you on that. I think Oren will probably win that.
I think Oren will probably get it, but if
they're gonna make each other bleed like crazy.
In that company before, then it could be Eddie too. But
no, I think this is Eddie's only his second shot. I'm sorry, Oren was the double champ. I apologize if I wasn't clear. Oren, I believe, had their heavyweight and their alternative belt, and then I think he dropped. I'm sure there's a million. Yeah, we've got a million listeners. There's several people, including Dysfunction, who will probably listen. Screaming at their phones right now. I don't remember who he dropped the belt to, but he dropped one of their belts, I think, in June. So yeah, I think Oren will win it. And then the other match in the double main event is going to be the Four Corners of Insanity, where Dysfunction is going to face the Liberal Army founder Charles Smooth. D. I don't know what the D means by his name. Do you?
No. I'm
used to. Maybe that's supposed to be a C.
Guy. No offense to him, I've never heard of him, but I mean, obviously Dis sees something in him as Dis's company, so
yeah. And if Dis is gonna work him, it's gonna be a friggin' fun match. So
absolutely, 1000%. Yeah, Dis is the man. He puts on hell of a good matches, and if it in his own company, he's not gonna go against somebody who isn't gonna bring it. You know what I mean? So
And I know we're pushed for time, and I want to try and keep this under 2 hours and everything. But have you seen his Twitter lately? What the mask he just got and what's coming out?
No.
He's got a Weed Man mask. He's bringing back Weed Man.
Dope. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh,
that's so cool.
I'm like, please be within 2 hours of Chicago, because I pretty much got to stay within 2 hours of Chicago to not get divorced.
Uh-huh.
So please be within 2 hours of Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
That's awesome.
somehow I need to figure out a way to get my ass paid to be there. If I can do one of those two, my wife won't care. But there's
Okay.
no way I can go to like freaking Cleveland for free.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
gonna be like, no, no. And let's be really clear before the jokes start. My wife definitely wears the pants. When you live in a house where your wife makes more money than you, you're
Yeah.
you shut up and you listen.
I'd
Uh,
say so. Yeah.
and then another match that's going to be a whole lot of fun is the All Weapons Legal Horror Slam Showcase match. You've worked some Horror Slam stuff, right?
No, I have not yet. No, I wish I have, but I pay attention a little bit. And I know some of the guys that have came from there, or that work there a lot. I've worked with a couple of their guys. I think they've came different places that I've been at, but
Well, you
no,
worked with
I'm
Chuck
really not.
in Indy, right?
Yeah, Chuck was at the Chuck was at the AWR show, and Chuck, he was awesome. He was such a good character, punk, the punk rock character and all that. Um, so, and then who's the other guy in it?
Jeff King.
What's that?
Jeff King, the hardcore old timer.
Now him, Jeff, I have worked with. He was in my very first King of the Death match in 2017, and he did a great job. I know he's going to be in Southern Sickness Cup coming up soon, also.
In
So
October.
Jeff is awesome. He's awesome. So, and Chuck
And that's
Steen is
gonna
really good too. So that's going to be a fun match.
and that's Chuck has instantly become one of my favorite wrestlers only because that's my mom's maiden name. So
Nice.
uh to see that, it's like, hey, that's what's up.
Right,
Guy.
we're related.
There's yeah, we're yeah. I'm gonna find your ass on Ancestry, dude.
Right.
And I actually I was born in the Fort Wayne area, so the joke sometimes is the Fort Wayne area is about suburban Detroit. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so therefore Chuck and I are obviously cousins.
Have to
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of that show for now. We'll definitely go into it more. I'm sure you and I'll touch base
we'll definitely dive deeper
sometime
into it,
around
for
the
sure.
21st ish. We'll look to drop that next show. Sean and I both live pretty busy lives with full-time jobs and kids and wives and all that other stuff. And so this won't be like the old show that was dropping 4 times a week. Sean and I want to definitely, I think we're 100% on the same page that we want to focus on content and quality rather than quantity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There was more show prep done for this show than there was 2 weeks of the other show. I hope that comes through in this. Guys, here's the other thing I'm going to say. If we start getting a bunch of hate and shit, we're just going to stop. This takes a lot of time away from all of our stuff. All the feedback is good, but don't bury us either. If you don't have anything, if there's something we can do to make the show better, great. If it's Max, your voice fucking sucks and you shouldn't be on the radio, keep that shit to yourself and don't download the next one, because that's the shit that kills this stuff. If you guys like it, download 5 stars, help us out however you can. I'm going to break a little news here right now. I am going to be at least at the men's show, hopefully the women's show as well. I got to work a couple things out with a babysitter. I don't feel like it would be appropriate to bring a 4-year-old girl with me to that show. And I've got set up currently to do interviews with John Wayne Murdoch, Aiden Blackheart, and Oren Veidt. They're giving me interviews before the show, and then after each round, we're going to get bloody, nasty, gross interviews with the guys. Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to interview you in between your bouts of reffing, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Right,
you already
awesome.
know. I have no problem with that at all, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of great content. I think for now, the main place we're going to focus is on YouTube. That's probably where you're listening to this now, or you've downloaded it from YouTube. That's going to be kind of my main place to focus. I do want to do more videos than we did with the other stuff. I think video is kind of where it's at. So that's kind of going to be where I want to focus. This is a wrestling podcast. And the other thing is I want to hear from you guys. What can we do better? What can we add to the show? Who do you want us to talk to? I definitely want to set up some interviews for the show later on. We had a couple trying to do, but guys that are booking a show in 4 days are a little busy. So who do you want to talk to? Sean's got some good contacts. I've got some good contacts. We could probably get a hold of most guys. If they're real big names, they charge, so we're not going to do those.
Yeah, and off of what you were saying, as far as like, we are all for constructive criticism. You know what I mean? Please, any way that we can make this show better, let us know. But just unnecessary hating is, like I said, unnecessary.
Right.
So if we get a bunch of that, then
It's a creativity killer.
Exactly. But however, please help us out in any way that you can. If you're listening and you're like, hey guys, why don't you try this? Give us, please throw names out there. I'm booked nearly every weekend. Pretty much every weekend I'm at least at IWA Mid-South and Grindhouse Pro Wrestling, which is Too Tough Tony and Rudy Switchblade School. I'm either one of those places every week for sure. And then, wherever I'm at on a Friday or a Saturday. So I see guys all the time. If there's anybody that you want us to interview, new, old, whatever, let me know, and I'll definitely put out a word for sure.
And here's the other thing is we also have ears to some of the bigger promoters in the indie world. If you're a worker that's listening and you want to get out there, I could tell you Gary with AWR and I talk pretty much weekly, and he's constantly asking for, his big thing on Facebook right now is who are the deathmatch guys that no one's heard of. So if you're a worker that's
and I work for AWR, so
yeah.
So.
If we can help guys out. Big things we might be looking for in the future is somebody that can edit and upload podcasts quickly. That would be somebody cool to reach out to us and help us out. We'll split a third of all the pay with you, which is $0. So, but yeah,
I'll try and get you a hot dog from the concession stand.
Yeah, I will. I will totally buy you a beer. I'm about to hit Sean up to sneak me into the deathmatch tournament this weekend. So yeah, that's how we're doing.
Right.
Hey, leave that back door open. Put a rock in it. I'll be in 5 minutes.
I got you.
All right. So I'm gonna end this real quick. For the Midwest Danger Deathmatch Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 1. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great night. Hang on 1 second. For some reason it's not. Gonna have to edit it now.